Welcome everyone to our third webinar, this time for our new custom report generator tool. Thank you all for taking the time out to join us. Quick reminder again, your mics as attendees will not be turned on, but if you have any questions, please just type them in the chat window in the webinar. And when we get to the Q&A portion of the afternoon, we will make sure to address those questions. Let's see, today. The presenters today, you have me, Brent, one and only, always here. And our presenter for the new report generator tool is Tonya Bednarick. She is the developer who wrote this addition to Concrete Vision. So as the expert, she'll be the one walking us through how the tool works and how you can use it best in your company. The agenda for today, first, we're going to go through how to build a custom report in the tool and where the tool is, how to aggregate data in a custom report, how to share a custom report with other users, and at the end will be when do I get this? I know everybody's going to be super excited to have this on their system. I will be connecting with the main contact person at every one of the companies that's attended here and every one of the companies that's using CV to give them a heads up as to when we're going to roll out this tool to your install of Concrete Vision. So, and when we finish that part, we'll do some Q&A time where Tonya can answer questions about how the system works, or you can ask how you ask us to put new data in the system, things like that. So with that being the case, I'm going to hand over to Tonya Bednarick, our developer, and have her show her screen and walk us through her agenda for the custom report generator. Before I go, I will also mention we are recording the webinar and it will be posted within the next 2 weeks at the latest on our YouTube channel. So if you miss something or forget something, you can always go back and re-watch it on the YouTube channel.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Brent, for that introduction. So today I'm going to show you the new report generator, and this is our demo site, but you would find it in the same place on your system. Under the reports, we have the report generator, and it will I have a few pre-built reports, but first I'm going to go through adding a brand new report. So you click Add New and give the report a name and a description. Let's see, I'll call this the project detail report.
Hey, Tonya, real quick, would you mind showing us where the tool is located in CV?
Under Reports, Report Generator.
Thank you so much, Tonya. Sorry to interrupt.
All right, so I've got a new report here, the project detail report. And so on the left-hand side, we have the list of existing reports. In the middle column is where you search for the fields that you want to include in your report. And then on the right-hand side, the main area, it will display the fields that you've included, any aggregations and conditions, and then the results will display. So I am going to look at the project details, and these lists can be very long. They're alphabetized. But if you know the fields that you're looking for, you can use this search tool at the top and just start typing, and it'll find the fields that you that match the whatever it is you type in. So I'm going to add those and the I'm going to get the status. Down at the bottom of this fields section, there are a few different buttons. The one on the far right will add the whatever column you select to the report, and you can select multiples and add them with a single click. The button in the middle here is where you can select whatever fields you've selected will get added to the conditions section of the report. And then if you have a bunch of things selected, you can unselect them with the X. In the columns section over here on the right, you see the fields I've selected, and you can drag and drop them to sort the way they display in the results. You can click on a name and change the way it displays in the results. Each column has this up or down sorting, so we can sort by, say, the job name, ascending or descending. And let's see, I need to add a condition here. So I want to find everything that's been created in the last year. So I'm going to go by date created and add that to the condition. And say everything in the last year. All right, so I've got my field sorted, I've got a condition, and I think I'm ready to run this. And I discovered this just recently. My our demo site doesn't have anything from the last year, so I'm going to disable this condition and run that report again. And I can see I've got 6 jobs, and the status of the job name, and any other details we wanted to include from this project detail could be included. So if we wanted to know the cubic yards added, let me first CY cubic yards, I believe it was structural. I'll run that again. No structural. So that is a real quick report and a way to get information out of the system. Everything that you've ever done in Concrete Vision would be available to query. It's it will let you really deeply query and create any kind of condition you want to look for your data. Let's see. Once you get your report built, you can export it. So there's 4 options for exporting: CSV, HTML, which is essentially an Excel table, PDF, or an Excel, and this is just has less formatting to it. So that's the project detail report. And now I'm going to go through some of the reports that I've already built. This is a category report, and it lets us demonstrate some of the more powerful features of this tool. So here I've got a sum on the cubic yards, and to add a sum to a column over on the right, there are several buttons. The F is for functions, and I've just removed the sum feature, but all I have to do to get it back is click on that F, and we could do a sum, a count, a distinct count, average or minimum or maximum, but I just want to do the sum. And run that. The next portion of that is aggregations. So here, in order for the sum to behave the way we want it, we have to tell it what we want to group on. So I've grouped on the sum column, and then it gives me a total at the bottom of whatever column it's been told to create that on. There are lots of other aggregations you can do. Here I've just got it set to show grand totals at the bottom of the list. Another thing that you can do is show for each group of things, you can show a subtotal for that. And I've got that in one of the other reports I'm going to go through. You can add, once you get your results, you can add charts. And I've created a little pie chart here for our cubic yards. We can see that 94% of them are these work in progress, and then
wall panels.
Wall panels? Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Wall panels, barriers, columns, and beams.
All right. And then you can also do a pivot on whatever data that you've got. So just a simple pivot table. It's got the jobs across the top and whatever amount of cubic yards for each category, and then a sum, of course, in the total column. As part of the features, you can format your numbers. So if this was not just a decimal value, if it was currency, you could format the number with different decimal points or currency numbers or currency markers, whatever it is you need to do to format that correctly. You can format dates and times differently. So if a column is a date time column and it displays the date and time together, and you only want to see the date, you can format it so that the time is hidden and just the date displays, or vice versa. And you can do long dates, short dates, long times, short times, things like that. Let's see, I've created a company contacts report, and this is based on the projects. So these are the contacts for all the projects in the system. And you could use, you can use this for a mail merge or just to export to have that information available. We've got, let's see, the address, city, state, zip, etc. And again, this can be exported to whatever file format you want. So if you wanted to use it in a mail merge or something outside of the system, you could do that. Again, we could sort this by the job name, ascending or descending, just to make the results more relevant to whatever it is you're looking for. We could add conditions. Oops, not aggregates, conditions. I showed you earlier that you can add the columns from the field section over into the selected columns or the conditions section. Once you get a lot of fields in the selected columns, these fields kind of get hidden. So you can also add conditions or additional columns by using this link right here. It's not as easy to navigate because there's no search field on these, but it gives you a quick access to the fields. So let's see, I'm going to search for companies, and I just want to find all my contacts where the company name isn't blank. So is not equal to, and if you just leave it as that, it will filter out everything that's blank. And I'm going to sort this by the company name. Got an unsort by the job name. There we go. So you could see all the contacts in order by the company and the job. Next, I've got a Piecemark report. And this one has a different type of aggregation. For each product code, it's got a sum of the cubic yards. And then at the end of the report, it would have a total. So we've got 1,500 or so cubic yards for everything. But if you wanted to look at it for each section, it'll show a sum at the bottom of that. And these aggregates are included in the export. So again, here we've got a condition where the job number is equal to 102. So you can get all the parts for a particular job. And the aggregations, here we're grouping on the product code. And then we're doing a sum on the cubic yards. Another feature is that you can disable fields. If you're just trying to figure out what it is you want to include or not include in your report, you can toggle a field off or on with the this little circle button. It'll remain there, and it appears to be disabled, so it's a lighter color, and then it will no longer show up in your report. But then later, if you want to include it again, you don't have to go search through all the fields on the middle section here. And that also applies to conditions. So we can disable this condition and just get piece marks for all the jobs in the system. You could set it up so that let's see, if you wanted to be able to quickly switch between different conditions, we could project piece add the job number. I'm just going to search for it over here. It's easier. Add to the conditions. So I believe the other one is 1001. So here was our original. Here's all of the results with neither condition enabled. Here's with one condition enabled. And I'm going to disable that one and enable this one. I have to rearrange those. Or there's just no jobs 1001. Great. That was the Piecemark report. And you know, in the system that we've got company contacts as well as project contacts. If I wanted to get just a report of the company contacts, I'm going to do that as a new report. So I've got my company contact view, and I'll look for the company name. The first name. Last name. And city. Add those. And so these aren't tied to any particular project. It's just everybody that the system knows about in your contact section. And again, we can sort this. Say we wanted to sort this by the last name, person's last name. And then you can reorder these by clicking and dragging. So I want to sort by last name, then first name. And so the results are there. I've done the categories report, the Piecemark report, the project contacts, and we made the project detail report while we were in this webinar. And I've gone through everything that I needed to show you today. I think it's time to open it up for questions.
Somebody else on this.
How do you add the chart and pivot table options on that screen? Okay. On the project,
can you hear me?
Barely.
The mic is off. Okay. How do we share reports? That was one more thing on our agenda.
Oh, that's right. To share a report, and when you first create a report, only you have access to it. So you would go to the report generator permissions. It's under the reports menu. And all your reports are there, and the people that have access to that report are displayed in this little box in the user list. And to add new users, you click the pencil icon, and any users that are available to you would show up in this list. I unfortunately don't have any users available to me to pick from, but this is just you start typing, and any user that is in your system that
I should be in there, Tonya.
I think it's because I'm not an administrator that I don't have access to that information.
Okay.
So anybody that you have permission to interact with in the system, you would be able to add them to the report, and they would be able to see it and run the report, but not change it. A couple of other things: you can delete reports from this menu, or back here, any report you see. Let me refresh this. I've got a few more reports available now. I could delete any report that I wanted. And if you're editing a report and you wanted to make a duplicate of it, when you click Save As, it'll be a copy of the report that you're currently working on. So if you share a report with someone and they want to make changes, they can do that by saving it as a new report, and then it would be something that they have full control over.
Okay. How do we control the permissions of who can make reports and who can in the system? How do we give access to the report generator tool?
I am not 100% sure how that happens. I believe that there's a permissions section where you grant users access to pages just like you would anywhere else in the system.
So it would be the user permissions by menu.
Yes.
And by screen page. Okay. Are there any options inside the report generator for who can do what inside of it? Like, what's the difference? I think you showed us that there was an admin and a report generator option under if you go to reports, report generator permissions. So what do we?
The report generator permissions
is what you were just showing us. What about the admin? What does that give us?
That I don't believe is going to be shared widely anytime soon. That is for internal use.
Okay, that's a CV tool specifically for us and potentially for high level customer users. But it does require some programming skills. So just keep in mind that is not a thing for anybody. And yes, it is the screen-based permissions that you use for any other part of CV is how you'll grant access to the report generator. Report generator. Currently, if you want to show the views real quick, Tonya, you can see when you get the system what views are currently in there. There is a project Piecemark view and a project detail view. When you speak specifically of engineering, if you open the project Piecemark view, so there is some stuff that would be valuable to engineering in the project Piecemark view, But one thing that we do know is that there will be a lot more views being added to this. We wanted to get this tool out to our customers as soon as we could. And as customers continue to use it and become accustomed to it and go, oh, I would love this data, that is when you will send us a request to add that to a view or create a view for that data. And another question, Tonya, can you filter by multiple conditions or can you only filter out?
You can filter by multiple conditions. So let's see. This is a copy of the contacts report. If I wanted to find everybody in, we've got a city here. So
You should have Grand Rapids as an option.
company, I'll look for city. Is the one I've got? Yes. All right. Just making sure it matched what's on the report. So, well, let's see. I'm going to disable this and see what my options are so I can search for multiple ones. We've got Grand Haven and Grand Rapids. So I'm going to say is equal to Grand Haven. And I'll add that again. Let's see. Well, in our rush to get this out, I apologize. The OR is not working right now. So in this case, a city will never equal Grand Haven and Grand Rapids. There is an option for an OR filter with, you would change select records where any, and then you add a group of conditions. And when you add the group of conditions, it gives you an option for OR. So instead of and.
And the OR functionality is something that we can add in the future. It just was not something we were able to add in the first release, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
So if in this case, if we wanted to do, let's see, a multiple condition, we could search for, say, last name. So let me add a condition for multiple last names. So, or multiple conditions. I'm going to look for the last name. Add that. And the last name contains Patterson. It could be contains, or which would search anywhere in the last name. So if I wanted to find any last name where the last name contained TER, I could do that. Whereas here I want to go with starts with, and that would find Grand Rapids and Grand Haven. So I'm going to search for that. And let's see. Oh, I did get an OR. I'm sorry. All right, so the OR, when you change it to any, and then the OR gets applied.
Okay.
What I was thinking over here with the plus signs is you can group conditions together and then put an and or an or between them.
Yep. I'm going to answer a couple of quick questions. If you want to head back to a report that you can add charts and tables to while I answer a couple questions quick. Then we'll have you show how to add charts and the pivot tables, how to add them and how to adjust them. The reports are saved on your Concrete Vision server. They stay there, and whenever you run them, they re-update, and you get the data at the time you rerun the report. The access to this reports tool, we've talked about how do you get access to the screen. As far as who has access to the individual reports, it would be whoever you share the report with in the way that Tonya showed to share reports. So anybody in your system that you go to the area where you share reports, you can share the reports that way, and that's who would have access. If you go to the report generator permissions, you would share it with another CV user on this screen. All right, and then if you wouldn't mind showing us, how to add a chart and how to modify the pivot table, however well you can do that, that would be great.
Just add to add a chart or a pivot table. In the results section, there's a plus sign. And you just click the plus and decide whether you want a chart or a pivot table. You can have column charts, line charts, bar charts, pie charts, donut charts, all the standard kind of charts you could do in Excel. And pie chart works good for this particular type of data. And but it's going to default to the first column in your report. But in this case, we want to group on the category and then the data that it's using for the percentage of the pie chart is whatever is the data column. And you can include a legend, so it's going to use the values that are in the category name as the legend for the chart. If we didn't include the legend, this section over here would be
blank.
It would not be displayed. And so a chart could be exported. The best way to export the chart would be in a PDF. Yeah. I closed the window. All right, so that was a chart, and then the pivot table. Again, you click the plus sign, you select pivot table. You can give your pivot table a name. So this is jobs and categories. Whatever field you want to pivot on. Again, it's going to default to that first column, which is useful for this particular report. That works well. And we'll add the category as a row. And what do we want to do? You can do sums, averages, min, max, or a count. I'll just do a sum. And let's see. You could also, if you decided, you could flip them. So this is a little bit, let's see. Nope, that's the same one I did before. But now I've got a nice name for it. At least it doesn't say just pivot table. We've got our categories on the first column, and then across the top, we've got our jobs.
Okay, thank you, Tonya. All right, one more call for questions. And a lot of thank yous because, yes, Tonya did amazing. So I don't see any more questions. Now I'm going to take back over and show my contact information. If pretty much everybody on here has been in contact with me for the most part before. If you have questions about it, if you're concerned, if you want specific things in views that are coming out over the next 2 weeks, we expect to be working on more views to add to the tool. But the best way for us to do that is to know what you guys would like to see in the views, like what data points that are currently in Concrete Vision you're going to want to do reporting on. So the best way to do that, send me an email. My email is here on the screen. You can call me, but the best way to make sure that I don't misspeak what I'm telling it to Tonya or Dan or somebody to add it to a view is to just send it to me right in an email. I've just been brought to my attention that there's documentation for the tool in the online documentation part of CV. So if you are in CV and you go to the help page and look at our support help page, you should be able to find documentation for the online report, for the report generator. Thank you everyone for taking the time out of your day. Is there other questions? All right. I must have not seen those questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can actually see the questions. And there's a new question. Okay, when you remove aggregation, does the report go back to original, Tonya?
Yes.
Okay.
If I can share my screen again. Do you want me to share my screen again?
Sure.
Let's see. That portion is hidden. There we go. Okay. So I've got the aggregation on this particular report. If I just wanted to disable it, I toggle it off, click OK, rerun my report. And this is a very short report, so there's not a lot of aggregation to turn off, but in this case, there's no grand total anymore.
Okay, thank you, Tonya. All right. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time out of your day to join the webinar, and have an excellent rest of the week.